Welcome back to another episode of The Money Honey, the show that brings together and celebrates women in property, in finance, and in construction. Now, given that I've nearly been, I've been in this industry nearly a decade, I often find myself to be surrounded by the most qualified, successful, experienced people in this industry, right? I'm very, very lucky to have entered at the time that I did. I was about 25 when I came in the industry. So whilst I felt really young and really different to everybody else, I actually have grown up to absorb and learn from the people that came before me, the people that have been leaders and pioneers of this industry. And some of them are actually hidden away and you can't see them, right? You just don't know where they are. And that's why I created this podcast, because I want to bring to the forefront, not just the celebrities of this industry, but people that perhaps don't often shine in the limelight. They don't put themselves out there, right? And I don't know if the guest at the moment is smirking in the background or not, but they have been nominated to be on the show. So as always, women don't normally, and I'm generalizing here, okay? I'm not judging. I'm just saying, women aren't quick to put their hand up and say, oh, I want to speak, me. We just don't do that, right? I mean, maybe me, because you're like, actually, Rosalia, you're always on the screen, you're always talking. But that's because I've harnessed the power of personal branding and I have owned I'm unapologetic. I'm unapologetic about myself, but don't get me wrong. It does not mean I find it easy. It does not mean it comes naturally. It means I have to work on it all the time. And the more I speak, the more I make an impact. The more lives are changing, the more connections I make, the more friends I'm developing. That's what happens off the back of speaking. And that's why I created this platform, because I want to bring on the stage to the forefront. I want the women of this industry who perhaps are just getting on with their jobs, quietly working away. I want to bring them to the limelight and really share their story, because we can learn so much from them. So I'm really excited to bring to you today a new Money Honey. By the way, we've never met. We actually don't know each other. This is the first time we're meeting. This happens a lot on the Money Honey show, where strangers from the internet universe are brought to me. And again, that's the power of putting yourself out there. And I get to discover and make so many new relationships that I've never had in the past. And beautiful things happen just like this, women empowering women, supporting each other. And so today I've got the lovely Samm Walker, who is a protection advisor at John Charcol, and she's been working there since 2019. Started her career as a protection advisor in 2019, and later has transitioned to the role of mortgage manager. But she did leave the company in November 2021 to pursue her own challenges. So she started out, obviously, in a well-known brokerage, and she has then left, did her own thing, and then came back again. So she's actually come back because she realized her passion for working as a protection advisor, and then she got promoted. So she's got she's done quite a bit in the industry. We've got a lot to learn from her, and I'm sure she will tell us herself about what she's been doing. So without further ado, let's bring in...
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, honestly, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for stepping up to the plate, so actually being here and representing the women, not just yourself. You are also, just so you know, you've got a responsibility here, because not many people are confident in speaking up and putting themselves, even though you were nominated, you took that. So many others were nominated and perhaps didn't have the confidence to reach out and say, actually, Ros, I would like to be on there. So well done to you for, taking that nomination and going with it.
Well, no, if you don't step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yes, that is always a buzzword. Everyone's like, oh, I just want to step out my comfort zone. But really, how often does it actually happen? If you don't scare yourself just a little bit each day, how are you actually going to grow? So, Sam, like I said, I'm sure your intro is going to be much more eloquent than mine. So please tell the rest of all the listeners who you are and what you do, please.
So, Samm Walker, protection team leader now at John Charcol. I started actually in financial services in 2000, working in banking. and eventually made my way to mortgage broking in 2006, completed in CMAT, and then specialised in protection advice in 2017, I think it was initially, and then eventually moved to John Charcol in 2019 and found my home is probably the best way of putting it.
Wonderful, really great. But how does one get into financial services or protection advising or mortgage advising? It's not something you really grow up wishing to be, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I was starting off as a horse riding instructor, actually, but you know, yeah. And then I went to NatWest because I wanted a responsible job. Sounds a bit bizarre, but I did want a responsible job with, you know, responsible hours, responsible money. And I got married. So it was kind of that time where I was thinking, yeah, that's a good job to do. So I ended up falling into it really more than anything else, and then found that I loved it. So
wonderful. What is it that you love about it though? What?
Helping people mainly, truthfully. It's the best part of my job, if I'm honest. And there's all sorts of different financial aspects, isn't there, in life? So it's varied and enjoyable. I find it enjoyable.
And there's lots of challenges that come with the industry, right? So how does someone stay motivated? How do you stay sane? How do you stay calm? Because you're dealing with a really serious, really serious industry. Like, you're dealing with people's money, people's health, people's, assets.
You bite your tongue a lot initially. Ultimately customers are customers. If they're annoyed, there's a reason why they're annoyed. Most of the time, if you just listen, that takes the hate out of their voice, essentially. And then you just deal with it from there, in all honesty. It's not always easy. You sometimes put the phone down and, you have that moment of swearing and how am I going to deal with this kind of scenario? I don't want to phone this customer back. I don't want to deal with it. But ultimately, I'm one to rip the plaster off and get it done, because the sooner you deal with it, the quicker it is off your desk and that customer is happy, essentially.
Oh, I think everyone's got that with their jobs, whether you're a nurse or even a DJ. I'm sure I've seen a DJ get annoyed at me when I'm asking for a tune. I'm like, play that tune. And, and you think he's got or she has got the happiest job in the world. And you think, why are you getting annoyed? That's your job. Like, play the music, right? But they've got their own processes and their own steps. So we all have it. So whether you're a mortgage broker or a DJ, you're definitely going to have your struggles. But like you said, often it's about listening. It's about just dealing with the problem at hand rather than emotionally dealing with it, actually just trying to find a solution. And everyone wins, right? If your customers are happy, then you're going to be happy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
It is taking the emotion out of it, which can be quite difficult sometimes though. So
definitely. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. When a deal doesn't go through, or your house gets, falls through, or, the mortgage lender just says, oh, actually, no, we've declined this, it's, you're dealing with a lot of emotions. So what are you finding at the moment? Let's talk about like the women, right? Let's talk about, you deal with a lot of protection, right? And mortgages. Okay. So what do you think is the attitude that you're seeing towards protection and insurance, particularly from the women? Is there a disparity? Is there a difference between how men feel about it and how women feel about it? Do you notice that?
Yeah, I think there is, truthfully. I think it depends on the circumstances of the woman for the most part. I think over the last 20 years, things have changed quite a lot, because obviously when I first started, it was more, this is not a sexist thing, it's a factual thing, that most women would be at home looking after the kids more then than now. And even then, obviously, women were working and it was still a 2-income household, but maybe not quite as high-powered potentially as it is now. Whereas you'll find women in much better positions financially now. So, but you still got women at home looking after the children, because let's be honest, they are the primary carer 90% of the time still. But the women who are the mothers and the carers and dealing with everything, and even those who aren't, will still want to protect their family, potentially more than a man will, because I think they think about the wider picture more than men do, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and that's okay to be like that. I mean, there's no judgment on this show. And I always say to the guests and the listeners, at the end of the day, we're all telling our own version of the truth and our own version of the story. Like, that's your journey and that's your perception. I mean, 99% of my clients are men.
Yeah.
I love men. Like, all my clients are like pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
there are
different attitudes. It's different attitudes.
Absolutely. Even just like, financial risk takers, and you've got often, you've got like men take more risks, but actually I've heard that women have better, more diverse portfolios than men because they're more cautious and actually diversify their portfolio more than men do. A man might just go all in on something, whereas a woman will say, well, actually, I'll just spread my basket, my eggs a bit, and then we'll see, how that works out. So there are, that data does exist for a reason. So how can you as a financial advisor, help women take more ownership and control of their finances and their health, from a protection point of view? What would you say to women listening today who are either single or married? What would you be like your girl on girl chat, having a cocktail? What would you say?
I mean, for most part, really, in relation to protection and things like that, obviously that's a very subjective conversation. It really depends on people's individual circumstances. Taking care of your health has got to be one of the highest priorities anyway, I think. The strain on the NHS with things like smokers, drinkers, high BMI, that's a massive problem, obviously. I think the thing is, what people forget is that these days, weight is a problem, but that's more because our life has changed. The internet has made things more readily available. We're working at a desk. A lot of us are working at a desk more. We're not having the opportunity to go out and exercise and do these things that we would have done if we were a generation older, really, where we didn't have these electronics anymore. I sound like a, old fogey saying it, but, I grew up in the time where we didn't have mobile phones till I was 21, right? So, but ultimately, trying to make time for self-care really is what it boils down to, I think is important for women, really. Because they take the lion's share of the household responsibilities, usually, as well as working full-time. It's a big gap, I think.
Yeah, I do see that. I definitely see it. I mean, in my household, we earn pretty much equal, the same. We work just as many hours as each other. We both take care of the responsibilities of the house, as long as I give them a list, I'm not gonna lie.
No wrong. Yeah.
As long as I make a list of things to do, he is phenomenal. Like, my husband is actually phenomenal. But needless to say, like, there's no, I can totally see, like, one day when we have a family, the baby might be latching on to me, right, for anatomy reasons, and I will have to just actually get on with life while that baby's hanging off me as well, right? So that's, I don't know how equality can exist to a certain extent when we are physically, delivering that baby and actually having that baby, and then you grow up with the kids, and then you're working, and then you're out, and I've been hearing a lot about mental health and physical health for women who are doing everything, like, house, kids, work. So what would your kind of top tips around that would be, if you are, a career woman and a wife and a mother, and you've got, everything, you want to be yourself as well, what would you say is the best way to take care of your health, or what do you do to take care of your health?
Well, I mean, my son's grown up now, but I had him in 2001, so a year after I started in financial services, and so I've gone through that big growth whilst he's been growing up with me. And there were times where I would be working a full time, and then come home, study for my CMAT, while still looking after him and doing all the other bits and bobs that go with schooling and everything else. And for me, my saviour was running, if I'm really honest. At that particular point in time, it kept me sane. It just gave me 30 minutes, 3-4 times a week of, I'm getting out the house, my mum and dad are looking after my son for half an hour or whatever it takes. And it just gets me away from everything, because you can't think about anything other than one foot in front of the other when you're running. So, you know,
That's
that was
amazing.
really
I think,
improving.
yeah, so many people swear by running, and I did so much of it over lockdown. But it's not for me. It really isn't. I literally, my ankle swells up, my knee. Honestly, I've been through all the, the shoes, everything. It's just not for me. But I'm better at. But I do love taking care of my body and my mind. It really gives me that stress release. I love going to the gym, like lifting weights, yoga. Like that's my way to concentrate. And so that's really, really important because, like you said, we're really quick. You didn't say this, but what I mean is like we're really quick to insure our phones, right? And protect our phones and laptop and contents in our building. But what about our health? That's what we have. And you were talking about like how our generation now, we're used to like technology and how that's taken away so much more like healthier activities that we could be doing that we're not doing. Have you watched that program on Netflix? Because that's what made me think about it when you said it. There's a program on Netflix about the blue zones in the world and the centenarians.
No.
Oh my goodness, you would love it. It's exactly, it shares exactly how obviously centenarians have got to where they've got to because of the lifestyle that they live, and they do so many things manually, like washing, cleaning. Like they don't have like washing machine, they don't have like tumble dryers, they don't have like even a dishwasher. They make every food from scratch. They do a lot of gardening, and I love that program. It's even got one of the blue zones is from my country in Italy, so they picked Sardinia. So that's one of the countries, and like the features there were very much like that I do with my family or that we can relate to, which is things like keep older people around you. So like grandparents, we don't often send our grandparents to care homes. We look after them. Walking, lots of walking. So yeah, there is something to be said there. That is a program I definitely recommend. So I just want to switch things up slightly. So you've been in this industry for how long now?
23 years.
23 years. So many have come in and out, right? And maybe in again, but some people have left the industry. I mean, I know even this year, a few people that have left because of the circumstances. What does it take to build a 20-year or 20+ year career? What do you bring your results down to and your success to?
A lot of it is resilience. When I first started, it was a very male-dominated world. I say I'm probably fortunate in the sense that my dad's ex-forces, so I was used to quite a lot of banter and male-dominated work environment, should we say, because he used to take me in when I was younger and things like that. So I think I probably got developed quite a good shell, should we say. There have been people that I worked for that I couldn't work for, if you see what I mean, and I've had to look pretty much immediately for something else because I won't put up with misogyny. They're like, I won't tolerate anything like that. So I can't work in an environment like that. And you either accept that I won't work with you speaking like that, or I'll go and find something else, or you will. But you have to have quite a hard attitude, actually, you've had to have quite a hard attitude as a woman in this industry initially. It's definitely changed. There's definitely been a massive tide of change, especially in the last 10 years. Where I work at the moment is fantastic. We've got a really good, strong mixture of male, female, and, different people from different countries, and do you know what I mean, and cultures and things like that. And we just it just works really well for us. We have a really good work culture, and I feel like that should be the same everywhere, personally.
Wow, shouldn't it just? But it's not always, unfortunately. But it's good that you have that zero tolerance policy, which not everyone has the courage and confidence to practice. So some people might just swallow that bitter pill because they're afraid of maybe not succeeding. And so what would you say to someone who perhaps is in a position where they don't feel valued, don't feel like they are being listened to, maybe they are being discriminated, even if subtle, even if just subtly? What could you give, even if you, like, if that listener was a daughter, right? If that listener was a best friend and they are going through that, what would you say to them?
I think the first instance, and I hate to go kind of have this thought process, but you need to document everything, firstly. And I know that sounds a bit, but you do need to document everything for your own sake. You definitely need to be having a conversation. That doesn't necessarily need to be directly with the person that is causing that issue, but it definitely needs to be somebody their level higher, essentially, especially if they're not, if they're a manager of you or a team, then it needs to be somebody other than that particular person, higher than that, personally, I think. But at the same time, you need to look out for yourself. And if that means you need to find a company that fits you better, that's what you need to do.
Or so are we saying call it out and then move, or we just saying just call or just move?
I don't know. I think you should call it out. I don't think necessarily you have to move on unless it's not dealt with.
I so true. Yeah.
The test of a company is how they deal with that situation, in my eyes.
I know, that's so scary. I'm definitely, I feel like I can hear people listening thinking, yeah, but if I speak out, then everyone might find out and I might be exposed and people might hear what I've done. And what if it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, what if like...
If they're not the only person that's happening to.
Yes. Yeah.
And everyone else is right to speak out. It's a bit like when you're in a classroom and you're learning a new subject and you have no idea what on earth they're going on about, and nobody puts their hand up and nobody knows what the teacher's talking about. It's got to be said. There's no room in this world for discrimination of any kind, and there's no room for bullying. And they usually go hand in hand. So someone has to say something at some point. Otherwise, that person is going to continue. And I've been in a situation previously at a company that I worked at where there was a gentleman that was just like that. And he continually got away with it because everyone was frightened to say it.
We've all been there.
Yeah, because it's just not nice. So he was the one reason that made me think, I'm never putting up with that again.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to go through that to understand, I've always believed everything happens for a reason. It shouldn't happen. Like, I know that's horrible to say, like, oh, what? So that should happen so that we can learn a lesson. But, it just makes you tougher as a person. I certainly know, like, where to cut it off and be like, no, that's not okay for me,
Yeah.
And it's taken me a while to develop that, even though I've always come across as like a confident person, but actually there's a lot of things that I've suffered in silence, and I don't hold grudges, and I'm not in the market at the moment to start naming and shaming people, because I just feel like I just don't want that bad energy. I just want to get rid of it. I'm like, do you know what? Like, I would be very quick to call it out. It's funny. I would actually be quicker to call it out if I saw it happen to someone else, and if I saw it happen to me, I'd be really quick to defend people and be like, no, that is not okay for that person. But that's what we have to do for each other, right? There's lots of saying nothing is also part of the problem, right?
Yeah, it is. It actually is. It's probably more so a problem than it is to say something and suffer the consequences. And actually, in reality, what can they do? If you've been in a company long enough and you make a complaint about a colleague because they're bullying you, if you've been there long enough, what can they actually do? Nothing. They can't discipline you for saying, I don't like the way that person speaks to me, or I don't like the way that person acts.
So other than that, Sam, that's a really brilliant insight, and very courageous as well. So I hope it adds value and really helps people. I know it's definitely lovely for me to kind of talk about things like that out loud. So I'm sure it will be for the listeners as well. So we were just talking about how you've built a 20-year career. So part of that is down to having that I don't tolerate misogyny. I don't tolerate, bad behavior and things like that. What else, in your closing comments, would you say to someone who's in this industry and sometimes struggles and like, oh, is this even right for me? Is this, obviously through 20 years, I'm sure you've gone through ups and downs. So what would you say again, to summarize your 20-year career, what else do you need to have in order to make it for so long?
You've definitely got to have grit and determination. There's just no two ways about it. And that's the same for anybody, not just women, but you've got to have grit and determination. And you have to have the ability to be able to dust yourself off and carry on, because, I mean, everywhere is targeted. We're in a sales environment, everyone's targeted. Some months you're not going to have a brilliant month. You have to be able to take that on the chin, dust yourself off and say, right, let's go again and make this month better. And you also have to be able to self-evaluate. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, what did I miss this month? What have I lost my mojo? Where have I lost my mojo? You know, I think they're the most important things, really, truthfully.
That's fantastic. I love that word grit. I really do. Resilience, determination. Yeah, that is definitely a recipe for, you know, success doesn't mean that for Samm, I know what Samm's saying is that she hasn't got to 20 years just by doing well every single month, every single day, you know, never having a problem, never having a dip. She's saying, I've had my challenges and I've had my ups and downs, but because I've got grit and resilience and determination, and I don't put up with shizzle, that's why she's made it to where she's made it. So what's next for you, Samm? What's on the horizon? What's your next big project, or not big, whatever you know, and what's happening for Samm next?
Well, I've not long been promoted to protection team leader at John Charcol, so I'll probably, you know, stop. No, I mean, in reality, for me, 46 now, I'm working my way towards retirement, if I'm really honest. I love it at John Charcol. I can't see myself going anywhere else unless they choose to get rid of me, of course, you know. But yeah, no, it's definitely a long-term retirement plan scenario now. I love what I do. I don't really want to change advising on protection. I don't really want to stop coaching people into making them better people, than, you know, better advisors. So why change that? Unless obviously they offer me something else within John Charcol, I think I'll be staying where I am and doing what I do best, shall we say.
Good. Yeah, no, that's good, because I feel, you know, sometimes I reach a milestone or I do something cool and then everyone's like, what's next? I'm like, gosh, let me enjoy this moment, you know. And sometimes, like, the maintenance is hard, like trying to maintain that trajectory, that path, that success route, that is hard. So, you know, you're in this new phase in your life, and actually, you know, maybe early retirement is on the cards. Maybe I don't know how long it's going to take you to retire, but yeah, if you're in a happy place, then enjoy it, Samm. I'm really happy for you. Yeah, well done you. So I can't believe it. We are coming to the end of the show. I just simply wanted to ask you if you would share with the audience, you know, can they reach out with you? You know, where's best to connect with you if they want to, you know, be more in your circle?
Yeah, so I'm LinkedIn, Samm Walker, 2 M's, at John Charcol, obviously. And yeah, absolutely, you can contact me at John Charcol anytime, not a problem.
Well, fabulous, really, really great. So there we have it, listeners, viewers, wherever you're tuning in, there's another episode for you to binge on if you are looking to develop your career, or you want someone in your team to think about the bigger picture, right? If they are new entrants, if they are new to financial services, right? Even like 5 years is quite new in comparison to the leaders that we have in this space. So if they are thinking, oh, I'm having my ups and downs, or, you know, I don't know where to go with this, you know, this is definitely an episode that gives you clarity on the bigger picture and what happens when you stay and play, right? That's what it's all about. So thank you, Samm, for giving us insights into what it's like to be in this industry for more than, 5 years, 2 years, 20 something years. That's really, really impressive. And I look forward to seeing many of you on the next show. But please do, if you can, and if you are available to right now in a safe way, don't forget to hit subscribe, because there are a lot of listeners. But actually, in order for us to be able to grow the show, we have to make sure that we grow as a community. So all you need to do is just hit the subscribe button. If you actually want to be on the show, you're also welcome to DM me and actually apply to be on the show. And the other thing is share it with whoever you believe needs to hear this, because I haven't created this platform just as a laugh. It's not like I've got nothing else to do. This is the movement. This is the show. This is the show that is going to not only help you, but the people in your life and the people in your team. So as they say, sharing is caring. So I will see you on the next show. Thank you.